Yeah, I didn't know a lot of that stuff, and I
but there's
I'm
so
honest.
much out there.
There
Right?
is. There's a
And
lot.
it's like when you fall in love with something, you
That's
continue
just
with that,
like
and
the
it's just
Incredible
like
Hulk. Like when I love
yeah,
the Hulk, so I know all about the
yep,
aspects of the Hulk from blah 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 because I have the whole collection. Now the movies aren't as whatever, and the TV show was different, but and Spider-Man 2 and the Avengers and just Marvel, I can recite all that stuff just like David could do with Batman. But that's just one character that he knows that he actually like. There's a
yep.
lot of stuff that a lot of stuff now in the 15 or 20 years I haven't collected Batman that I have no idea what's going on.
Are you going to read Grand Design when it comes out, Bubba?
The Hulk? Yeah, I'm gonna go get it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have
come on down.
I will because I have David. I have the volume, the Incredible Hulk Volume 1. I have that whole collection.
Okay.
I have the only Incredible Hulk comic books that I am missing is the first 1 through 6, which that's all I need. And yeah, I could pay my house 6 times over, but that's the only thing I'm missing. But yeah, I've always been an Incredible Hulk. I've always been a Marvel fan, but I've always liked Batman.
Exactly. He was on all of our we call it top 5 live, and we ranked our favorite superheroes. He was on all of ours. Yeah, if I remember correctly. You know, even being Marvel guys, Batman was always just that intriguing character, had the best villains, and I didn't realize it until you spoke to it, Max, and the fact is how psychological it actually is. So yeah, no,
you peeled some onion layers off for me. Like peeled it off. Like it's more than throwing the bat boomerang. I know he's not a good dad, but I mean, but I do like his sidekicks, and I do out of all the teams in DC, I like Teen Titans, which is surprising. But I do, and and there's some stuff I like. Arrow, the show. I don't have any of the comic books, but
Well, I got one more question since we got the Batman expert here. I got to ask him before we move on. I tried to fit it in earlier. You can't have a Batman movie without this question coming up. And this is one thing I didn't expect to like as much as I did. And I was excited for this movie. I think this is my favorite Batsuit too. And I did not expect that.
My favorite Batsuit is the armored Batsuit from Batman vs Superman.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's just because like I like the mech look a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, it's a realistic Batsuit.
Yeah, I thought it looked clunky in like the promotional materials and stuff.
Sure.
But then actually seeing it on the film and seeing him in it, I love it. And I love how his boots have like a little bit of metal, and it almost sounds like spurs when he walks around. Like the sound design of this movie is incredible.
Yeah.
But I did not think I was going to be over the moon about his look in the movie, the Batsuit, and I love it.
Yeah, it's more of a it's just more realistic. I mean, even the Batsuit that Christian Bale had was somewhat, fanatical.
It looked like an action figure, especially to the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it had abs. Like this Batsuit had abs. They were like formed into the suit. But yeah, it looks DIY, just like the Batmobile. Just like everything, the aesthetic of this movie is all encompassing, and I love it.
What I like about it is I don't know if you listen to like the Major Wrestling Figure podcast or obviously you're figure collectors, but they talk about the word toyetic. Do you have toyetic qualities?
Yeah.
And the Batman, the reason why I think that it's not going to go so blockbustery is exactly what you're talking about, Cable, which is like they didn't make a toyetic Batman.
Yeah.
They made a Batman that if this was his second year as Batman in the city, this is what it would look like. I mean, even the Bat Signal was this gritty, thrown together
piece of metal,
like pieces of metal, like just raw
and I was ecstatic that we didn't have to see the Waynes get murdered again over and over, like we do in every movie. They alluded to it. That was good enough for me.
Insulting to people's intelligence because it's like, dude, if you don't know how Batman became Batman because his parents are dead,
don't go to the movie.
Everyone knows that, even if they've never picked up a comic book. But even even I will say the other thing I liked about this, the portrayal of Gotham.
Yeah.
As this like rusted and iron and like
it felt like the Crow to me. I got Crow vibes.
Yeah.
Sin City vibes for me.
Yeah, but I mean, think about what influenced. What was a major part of the Batman was Frank Miller from Sin City, writing The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, that's a good point. But again, you know, if we want to talk more Batman, we can have you back anytime. But I need to talk about the Gavel, baby.
All right, let's talk about the Gavel David Lawless. What do you want to
know? Well, first off, take us back. When was wrestling a thing for you? We talked about DC and in comics, but when did wrestling come into your life? Like you said, you started wrestling when you were 30, but when did you become a fan? What was your first wrestling memory?
Monday Night Raw, Razor Ramon, rest in peace, versus the 1-2-3 Kid when 1-2-3 Kid beat him.
Okay, was that the first Raw you ever watched? Okay, and you were how old?
8, I want to say at the time.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your first wrestling. That's great.
I was hooked. From then I was hooked.
Was you hooked on Razor or the 1-2-3 Kid?
I think I was hooked on the story
of the.
Did it remind you of
Goliath?
Yes, exactly. Does it remind you of a comic book-esque type of thing? Like you had the good guy, you had the bad guy, you had, you know, the undersized guy that went over, right? Yep. Like, is that kind of what attracted you to it?
I think, yeah. I mean, I just think the excitement and the storytelling of it was really what I gravitated towards. I mean, I've always been someone that has appreciated a good story, a tight story, a compact story, or, you know, one that has some moving parts to it, but they all kind of blend together. And I think just to see the excitement and the idea that you didn't know what was going to happen, and it was constantly, you know, what's going to happen next, or they were introducing, you know, new ways to tell the story. That's what I loved about wrestling, and what I still do.
Have you followed it ever since that day?
More or less. Yeah. I had a couple years where I had fallen out of favor with it, and didn't really keep.
How so? What made you fall out of favor?
I think it was just like I think a lot of it had to do with just accessibility. So when I was in college, probably my freshman and sophomore year, I didn't really watch much wrestling.
Okay.
Which that would have been what about like the Brock Lesnar's initial run? Or maybe a second run? Cena?
More like Batista.
Okay.
Era.
Yeah, I think that was a down point for me too. Yeah, I mean, I always followed it, but it was kind of a down point for me as well.
Yeah. And I think it was just a matter of when I got to school. I don't remember. I think we had cable. I don't know if I knew or like remembered to watch on Monday nights.
Did you ever get like the magazines off the racks? Did you read them or buy them?
Oh, I mean, I had a subscription to WWE Magazine when I was a kid.
Okay, yeah. What about PWI?
For you youngsters that don't know what that is, that's actually there was a magazine, a hard copy that they would send you in the mail monthly, and it was awesome because it had Sable as like the centerfold, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it had that 3-fold poster. Every issue had a poster in it.
Trish Stratus, man, it was great.
So you didn't get any PWIs?
No, I wasn't. I really didn't have access to like indie wrestling or tape trading until. Really didn't understand or appreciate indie wrestling until I was starting to train.
Okay. So that kind of hit you hard and fast then. So you went from being a fan and then you didn't really know that this indie wrestling scene existed. So you weren't somebody like Cable and I that kind of like really, you know, indulged in Ring of Honor and the big tape trading scene. You kind of came after that. So it hit you quick then. Like you discovered indie wrestling and was like,
yeah. What made you decide,
this, right? Like
to be a wrestler?
Yeah. What made you decide to do it?
Especially at 30.
Yeah. At 30 and,
you know, I graduated college and went to law school. Mm-hmm. I graduated law school and got a really good job. I worked a lot when I first got out of law school, and, I was in a profession and still am in a profession where there's a lot of miserable people that went to school because they didn't know what else to do with their lives, started working and just got accustomed to a lifestyle where they spent all their time in the office and made a lot of money and had no other options, gave up on their dreams, didn't take good care of themselves. I had a problem with drinking. I drank a lot, and I was a phenomenal drinker. But
we all were one time.
No, right before I turned 30, I stopped drinking. I had gotten out of a relationship that it wasn't bad. It's just not something I was emotionally or mentally ready for. And decided that I was not going to be an individual who was like everyone around me, that wished that they had taken an opportunity to do something. I did a lot of things in my life for other people because that's what was expected. Go to graduate school, get a job.
And Max, not to interrupt you, but what I know from you do a lot for other people still. And I admire that about you, and you help out your friends, and you're always there for your friends. So I could see that. I
appreciate that. I mean, I guess like I differentiate that from like just major life decisions were based on pressures that other people had put on me without arriving at the conclusion of what I wanted to do. And professional wrestling was and still is one of the only things that I've done for myself. I decided that I wanted to be a wrestler. I paid for wrestling school 100% myself.
Where did you go?
PWX.
Yep.
Okay.
My trainers were Brandon Kay and Chris LaRusso.
Yep. Great guys. Great guys.
Unbelievable.
Which you had a lot in common with LaRusso, I'm sure.
Yeah. I've been very blessed. My training class was myself, Lee Moriarty, and Duke Davis.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So
it's a hell of a class.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about, we were just, all we wanted to do was learn about wrestling. And we would go and train for hours, and we would study, and we would talk about it. And I mean, the way that, Duke and Gannon from TME are two of my best friends. We have shared so many hours in the car together. Mm-hmm. But just even the way we talk about wrestling so scientifically and theoretically, and how we break stuff down, it's just something that, if you have a passion about anything, just dive in. I am a full believer of not half-assing anything you do. So, if I like Batman, I'm all in on Batman.
Dude, I knew you had some stuff, but I didn't know you had that much stuff. And
I mean,
that's intriguing.
I wish 37 single and a relatively successful lawyer.
You gotta have some kind of
I don't feel so bad with all my stuff.
No, it's great. Max, I gotta see that sometime. It looks like a toy museum, a DC museum. So I definitely
have. So I also am really getting into customizing.
I was going to ask you about that. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. So I'll show you here. I'll show you something.
What is custom? You're customizing action figures or something, or what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll take DC action figures and I'll repaint them. So here, I'll show you something real quick.
Okay.
Sure. So
we're full of topics here, man. It's just
wow.
So he does his own.
Maybe
I can get a Moon Knight off of him cheap.
So my.
Can you make Bubba a Moon Knight? He's got screwed out of Moon Knight.
Got screwed on eBay.
Is a huge fan of Lobo, right? That's the only character.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So I took the Lobo DC action figure. So you have this one here. So this is what it comes. So this is what it looks like stock out of the box. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Really refined and cleaned up.
Lobo's a great character, Mav.
So, you just sit down but this is the repainted Lobo that I made him.
Wow.
So you can see if you compare them, right? You don't have as much detail.
You got more detail than the one you did.
I put some blood on the skulls, and then
but I mean, I know I'm looking at it through a camera lens, but it doesn't look like it would be a home painting. You know what I mean? Legit.
And the coolest part was I gave him a cycle. So McFarlane released this bat cycle from the Dark Knight's metal. And I went and gave it a paint job. So it looks like a dragon.
Nice.
I the head on top.
So how long have you been doing that? Customizing figures?
That I did not know about you.
Last couple years.
Wow.
So I just, I just see stuff. I'm starting to build some dioramas too. So, like here, I'll show you real quick.
Nice. That's awesome. That takes a very steady hand and stuff, which I can't do that.
So I just picked up all this crafting stuff, but
so you can make your own wrestling action figure too?
I did make one for my cousin. I'm starting to build the outside of the GCPD here.
Wow. That is awesome.
So this is just like insulation styrofoam.
Yeah.
Nice. You can, like, turn it in, make it look like a brick wall. And
Cable, you need that for your videos. You need a background.
Yeah.
Like, he just got a light box and stuff. And Cable does unboxing videos on the YouTube channel. And yeah, man, you need some custom backdrops for that bad boy.
Here if I can flip my camera,
you can do whatever you want.
No, here I'll show you guys this. I did this Swamp Thing shadow box.
Swamp Thing, that's amazing.
Oh, wow!
Oh man,
that's awesome.
Thing, and then this is a repaint I did of the Muckman and Eyeball Joe.
Yeah,
my goodness.
So
wow,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Now. You
Matt,
do that
where are you at in your where are you at in your house right now?
This is my living room.
This is your living room. Okay.
This is my living room / dining room. I got a 1-bedroom condo. So
okay, so that's awesome.
You're running out of room though. You're gonna run out of room.
When you bring ladies home, what do they think? Like
they
just have to ask.
You know,
I don't know.
Surprisingly,
awesome. They love it.
They do. They do because
I would drop my pants right there.
Hey.
People ask me all the time, do you tell your clients that you're a professional wrestler? I'm like, yeah. Because if you don't want to work with me, knowing I'm a professional wrestler, then I don't want to represent you.
Yeah,
that's awesome, good. I love that. That's great.
That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
Because to get back to the wrestling, when you told people you wanted to wrestle, what did people tell you?
You're crazy.
They told me the same. They told me the same thing.
Why would you want to do this to yourself? Why would you want to put your body at risk?
Yep. Why, Bubba?
Did you have any supporters? Did people say, "Yeah, go freaking do it, man"? Or did everybody tell you, "Hey, you're 30, man. Like you're gonna be like." I mean,
I think people were supportive of the idea of me going after it, but I don't think people, and my family included, realized like how big of a part of my life it would be, and how well I would do with it too.
Yeah.
What they say to you, if you don't mind me asking?
It was the same thing. Like,
because I had that. Okay, because I had that same stuff. I had that same stuff my whole entire life, and actually running the company and losing money, and then it got to be bad. So I mean, that was very terrible.
We booked a lot. LaRusso. He worked for APWF and possibly even Throwback.
Well, it was a different time. As I sit back, it was a different time then to now. I wish now with all the social media and you guys, you cut great promos you do, and the character you're doing now is phenomenal, and it's I like it. And I've seen you work numerous times, and every time I've seen you, I've been entertained. But you are good because there's a lot of people that are good around here, and the independent wrestling business around here is thriving. And to me, I catch a lot of slack because I love the business so much. It almost costs me a lot because financially and whatever. And I love wrestling. I still watch it. I still do whatever. I pay attention to what's going on the indie scenes on every company that is around here. I just love it. And I appreciate you and all the other guys that are like, now you guys are running with the football and you guys are scoring touchdowns. And I just want to say that.
Yeah, it's thriving, and it was pretty non-existent when, we were running there for a while, Bubs. But
yeah, it was. It's so nice now to see.
And I can attest to the fact that, Bubba was a diehard, and
it brings tears to my eyes, and I talk about wrestling every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about a lot of stuff that's very passionate about. That's why we do this podcast and stuff, because now my body, I have a hard time, bending down and tying my shoes. Sometimes I can't remember stuff because of all the shots, I took to the head, which I didn't, and you guys do some crazy stuff now. You know what I mean? Like I did crazy stuff then, but you guys you're booked every weekend. You guys are booked every weekend. That's good.
It was to the point where Bubba, Bubba and I had to have a serious talk and be like, dude, it's, it's time to...
Yeah, he was the only one David had actually told me, "Hey, Bob, you did everything you possibly could do. Now you got to.
It's not worth
quit living with quit living with mom and pa and spending money on wrestling and get out and now it's
spend money on comic books.
But
I was doing that my whole entire life. But
yeah,
I mean,
so
now you have more.
But here's the thing, like, it's a different time, and you guys could tell your story in the ways that back then that couldn't be told through social media, right?
Yep.
So people could follow you, get behind you, follow you to what organization. You know, it was me and Bubba hanging up flyers. You know what I mean? And I mean, so it's a different time. I'm not saying it's easy for you all. It's not. It's definitely not, because the competition is the talent pool is so big, and this area is full of a lot of. I mean, look at the class your wrestling class, right?
Yeah.
I mean, amazing talent there. So the talent, there's goods and there's bads to it, but like, I think you guys being able to express yourself, tell your story is really beneficial, and it's something that Bubba didn't really have back in the day.
I just did everything, like what you see is what you got, and I had because just me being from where I was at, I was the hometown guy, and I could rally the forces around me. But it's just so cool that you do stuff on Imagine Wrestling. I can't even name all the companies that you're on, but I mean you're feuding right now with, I believe, the franchise, which is
it's funny.
It's phenomenal.
We're talking about this. This is gonna be like my 6th match with Shane Douglas coming up this weekend in Reynoldsville. I think I've worked him more than anyone in history. So on his cage match, or when he goes into whatever Hall of Fame, they've got to list his feud with the Gavel as one of the top ones.
That's right. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
But no, I'm ecstatic that you're getting to do that again, and he must like working with you too. But Max and I have the same interest in a lot of bands too, and there's a band coming this weekend. And I'm like, Max, you gonna go? No, I got to work. I'm like, okay, but no,
but it's not really work.
No, not for him. No.
This will be this month I have 5 shows. I have a very light April, which is good, but things will pick up in May again. But Imagine's they're doing great things out in the 22 corridors, I like to call it.
No, they have a great organization, and all those guys are great. So I mean, it's a good company. Actually, that was one of my last matches ever, and it was a nice little bow to my career. And I can't ever be, it's a Hollywood ending, and you don't usually get them. And Kato and the boys gave me that, and I truly, truly appreciate that. I mean, it was, I'm getting chills talking about it right now. I can't do much in the ring, but my mind is very creative on the outside and stuff. But they gave me, I was scared shitless, you know what I mean? Because I was like, I ain't done nothing in a while, and Kato's like, oh, I'll just do it, you know how he is. But I mean, you're feuding against the franchise. Or there's any other companies that you're going like you're booked regularly on?
So Imagine is one of the ones that I'm booked regularly at. IWC was one of them, and I'm currently in the process of getting ready to make a comeback there. We're just waiting on when.
Was it I think it was a storyline, right? That you guys lost. You guys were like the Regulators or something.
The Regulators. I'm really proud of what we did as the Regulators in IWC. And
good stuff.
I think if you ask anyone that was in the storyline or even in the company, I think we probably had the best run for the circumstances we were given, because our whole shtick was that, we were upset that IWC was running this shoddy company, and we wanted ownership and control of the company, and we were going to turn it over to Governor Tom Wolf, who was going to shut it down. And, I like to consider myself very humble, so this might seem a little out of character, but we had 6 months of build culminating in us doing a 5-on-5 elimination match at Washington Wild Things Park.
Yeah. And, who was that? Was Bill was in that?
Bill Collier,
Wardlow?
Justin Plummer, Jack Pollock, Andrew Palace, and then Wardlow was the 5th.
That's the big wigs, man. That's the big wigs of that company.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I will say that there was probably not a better moment in professional wrestling in general than when Wardlow's music hit as the surprise 5th entrant for IWC. Because the way we had done it was all, the secret mystery person hadn't arrived yet. So the regulators had eliminated everyone from Team IWC. And then we were celebrating, and then we were foiled by Wardlow, who came out and just decimated all of us. But the reaction that he got and that the fans had when he came out was still just
because they knew him at that point. He's been on TV,
right? Well, and no one, and you know what's funny is no one knew whether he was actually going to be able to come back, because AEW has no restrictions on people taking indie bookings,
right?
But there's always that question: will they? Won't they? Because maybe they have other commitments with AEW. So it looked like he was going to be the surprise entrant. There was also this idea of like, yeah, it's obvious he is, but will he really show up? But yeah, when he came out, it was awesome. And
what a stud that guy is. If he and he had I have it on here now, but he had a big match tonight. I didn't get to, indulge it and watch it, a lot of it. But if that guy can put just a few little things together,
he's going to be a superstar.
Money.
He's going to be.
He's got everything.
He's there. I mean, he's there.
Maybe he just needs to give him the platform, and I think he's.
Well, that turn at Revolution is going to put him over the top.
Yeah.
So, so IWC, I'm starting to get ready to mount a comeback
because IWC is a great. I mean, IWC is the to me it's the pinnacle of Western Pennsylvania wrestling. To me,
it has.
I mean, it has
been since for
great
for
shows. Justin Plummer's treated me very well. I've always been entertained when I was been at some shows. I was just at the Sergeant Slaughter Lex Luger show down at the Garden.
Oh, Ross Draper, yeah.
And I think I'm going down for. I think the 30th of April. I think we're going down because
parties are going to be there. Thunder Rose is going to be there.
Oh, then I'm definitely.
Thunder Rose is great. Fan. She's in the match. Their matches right now.
Oh, don't tell me the finish. Don't tell me the finish.
I won't.
Behind me, so I can't.
I'm not saying nothing.
But I will say this: Britt Baker has a nice little nod to Scott Hall with her. Tonight, so it looks awesome.
Does she?
She's worn that for a while. Yeah,
that was bad. That was, I mean, just to go in for a hip and then that blood clot, and then like people, and I was posting stuff, and people were posting, and then I was like, I didn't hear about it, and then WWE put it on their marquee Monday night, and I'm like, I didn't hear anything, and I'm like, I'm not doing nothing until. You know what I mean? Like that is just, because Kevin's just, I read his stuff, and then Hogan did a thing, and to me, like that angle, that greatest angle, and you guys might agree with me, that is one of the greatest angles all time in professional wrestling history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was just something, and it just but a man who overcomes stuff too at the end of his life, which is good too.
He fought a lot of demons, but he had a lot of help too, DDP and some others. And
it's good to have that's why wrestling's a brotherhood, man. You know that.
It's not always about being in the ring. It was about the boys, you know what I mean? And the car rides that I had with Hippie and Bill Collier and
that's
stuff
what
like that. And Max, I mean, it's the camaraderie,
So you want to talk? I mean, I will say that currently. Bill Collier is probably one of the people that continues to inspire me the most in professional wrestling, because
the greatest unsigned talent right out there. He's the greatest I seen him in his first thing ever when he did that thing on the rope up here 5 seconds from my house at the K Arena. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is a superstar. And I did say that because I called Princess Jade up, and I'm like, Lisa,
if there is anyone that's a local talent that could just show up to a show and phone it in to collect their check and go home, or be bitter about not having quote made it, it'd be Bill. Because Bill gets the same question: where's this guy been? Why is he not signed? But to see his level of enthusiasm and passion, the dedication that he puts into his matches, into his workouts, I mean, it is. I am truly honored every time I get to share a locker room with him and talk to him. And I'm sure Bill, recognizes me as, I'm always sitting at the monitor watching his matches, just because I have a tremendous amount of respect for everyone in the industry. But Bill is just.
I seen you wrestle Bill and Slade at Imagine in a 3-way. That was a great match. It was a good match.
He's something else, man. He really is. And I hope to God he gets signed, and becomes the biggest attraction in professional wrestling in the world. But you know, as long as he's around, I'm going to continue to grow and learn under him. And even when I'm 40 or 45 or 50, you know, just continue to put the same type of work he put in.
Yeah, you know what's funny? It's almost eerie that he can just show up and just be able to put on a good match and not have to even think about it. Like it clicked. It's almost scary. And him and I've had this conversation before, but lot of car rides with him and picked his brain about a lot of things. And it's just like I don't know how you do it, Bill. Like you just show up. It looks effortless to you, and you know
he's more focused than he's ever been, and his character is him. Like he didn't need anything else but him.
Yep.
Right.
You know, and I know I've done, you know, whatever, but yeah, his character is him.
Yep.
And I will say for his size and his look, he's one of the most selfless people in the wrestling industry that I've ever come across too, because he will always do what is best for the show and for the product than he will for himself.
Yeah, I can attest to that. And he's safe. He's probably one of the, you know, safest people. You know, he really is. He's safe. But it looks like there's a lot of impact there, but he's safe for sure.
Is he in your top category of guys that you face besides the franchise you talked about before and Bill? There's probably a couple other people that are your arch nemesis in the ring. He'd be one of them. Okay.
He's one of the top. I think, you know, some of the talent that I've gone against or worked with, Duke Davis and Gannon Jones Jr. are high up there. I've had a chance to work many matches, tag matches with them. Chris LaRusso as an opponent and as a tag team partner. Lee Moriarty goes without saying just how incredibly talented he is. We've wrestled more times than I can count. You know, we literally started training the exact same day.
Wow.
Like here I was, you know, 30-year-old doing the tryout, and then there's some, you know, skinny 18-year-old kid sitting there.
Woo, that cardio had to be crazy.
This kid just did his tryout, and for us to start at the same time, it's pretty insane. And I'm proud to say that I also do some legal representation for Lee Moriarty. So it's cool to be able to have it all kind of come full circle in that respect. But there's an incredible amount. I think one of the people that I've learned the most from in the last 2 years is Jock Sampson.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been around a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we booked him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Jock, you know, I have,
quite a character.
I learned so much about working from Jock and playing your character up and, you know, getting a lot of mileage out of doing less in the ring.
That's smart. That's very, very smart.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the other company that I work for, one of the other companies I work for that's really great is Pro Wrestling Conquest in Charleston, West Virginia.
Okay.
So, you know, I got a chance to I got clotheslined by Scott Steiner, which was really cool. I
had Rick Steiner break my nose, so we have something that could, yeah.
That's a shoot.
I got to work with Mance Warner, who is like, the Southern Psychopath. Mance Warner was sweet to work with. I'm going to be working with Matthew Justice coming up next week.
Okay.
So that should be, Justice and I worked together 5 years ago, so it's been a while since we shared a ring. It'll be cool. But
nice.
Just a great company down there too. All the companies I work for, I really love, and I just like to go out and entertain people.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously, because you don't do it for the money.
No,
you know,
do it for the love.
Yep.
And then that's why, you know, all of us are probably sitting here because we all love the business at one time, and we still, I mean, I still do, and you definitely do, and these guys do too. But do you have any, like, do you keep all your footage and stuff to save for prosperity for later on in time? Do you have?
Well, I mean, you know, with technology now, there's a handful of people I could just call up and get that footage.
Okay.
So, For the most part, I mean,
it was hard back in the day for me.
But, oh yeah, no, yeah. I mean now, very rarely do I work on shows where there's not some type of professional videographer there taking the shows. So I'm very lucky in that respect. I mean, 2-to-1 Media does all of IWC's stuff now. So they have all the footage from basically Rob's when they started. Michael Sorg of Sorgatron Media has recorded pretty much every Rise show that I've been on. He's done.
That's a great company.
All the Conquest shows.
That Rise is starting to be a good company down there. Very good.
It's fantastic. And you know, I there's a couple places that that always go to the front of the line whenever you get questions about can you work here or here.
Right.
Rise, is one of them because Brandon was my trainer.
Right.
He's super good, super cool.
But
he does podcasts too. So
Kato was my first match ever in professional wrestling.
Huh.
Really? Wow.
August 8th, 2015, I faced Kato at PWX in my first match.
Okay.
Wow.
So he always he kind of gets the
holds it right to your heart, doesn't he? Right to your heart.
Yeah.
Right to your heart.
I tell people all the time. I could literally call that match from start to finish. Even though it was 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
How long you been in the business?
7 years.
7. Okay.
Yeah. Kato has a way of like the simplicity in the ring that really what you just talked about, like you could call it from start to finish because of the way he holds psychology, the way he conducts the match. Like there's a simplicity to it that just gets more out of the match, right? And yeah, I could see what you're saying there.
My greatest opponent, we could have made more and more money because me and Kato's rivalry. I would just watch some stuff the other day. It just, yeah. I mean, I could say a lot more, but I won't. But it was something that, yeah. I mean, that steel cage match in KCW, I guess, saved this company, I guess, because IWC was just right down the road. He brings that up. Oh. So to me, yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean he knows what he's doing. He's a good trainer. Sometimes me and him don't see eye to eye. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. That's something that I'm not here to.
Yeah, but there's still a mutual respect.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But no, great trainer, great company. And you're doing some great things. I do want to touch base real quick before we hop off here on the state of wrestling as a whole. Right.
Yeah.
Where are you at with that? Do you watch WWE regularly? Is it AEW? Maybe you don't want to answer that. That's okay too. But what piques your interest at this point? What are your thoughts on what's on TV at this point?
Well, I mean, I still watch wrestling. I still consume wrestling. I consume it differently than I did before. I'm not a religious watcher of Monday Night Raw. I'll watch the WWE pay-per-views. AEW I watch regularly, but I more watch their product to see my friends.
Yeah.
I will watch, tons of old stuff on YouTube or the WWE Network, especially if I start going down a rabbit hole. Like if I go down, Duke was talking a lot about Doug Furnace. So I went down a rabbit hole of watching Doug Furnace tag matches from Japan.
Nice.
Wow.
Or, I was watching a lot of Barry Windham for a while. So, and then New Japan puts out stuff. A lot of the bigger indie companies will put out, free matches with either, popular young talent that's been signed or historic talent that's worked. So, when you work in the wrestling industry, you consume it differently. Then, you're no longer a fan because you are judging it with a keen eye.
Yep.
And I think what I think about more than anything isn't necessarily the state of wrestling. I think about the state of the wrestling economy. And, look at the companies that are out there, the business that they're conducting, and I try to figure out what's next or what's going to be available, what opportunities are there for me and my friends.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the truth is, I have no regrets about my life, the things that I've done. I mean, I've done a lot of cool stuff in my life. And in most respects, if I've put my mind to something, like, I've done it. When I was in college, I wanted to play in the World Series of Poker because I was very successful playing poker, and I did that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
2000 and the 2006 World Series, the one that Jamie Gold won, I was in. So I qualified from Poker Stars. But no, I mean, I've accomplished everything I've wanted to in wrestling. That doesn't mean that I don't, you know, put effort in or don't want to do more. It's just
But is there something you haven't accomplished in wrestling that you still want to do, though?
Oh, there's tons of stuff. I would love to wrestle on the West Coast. I'd love to wrestle internationally. What I'm saying is, like, I would never consider what I've done in the last 7 years to be a failure. If
I didn't mean it like that. I just meant it like, you know what I mean? Is there something that
what keeps driving you to do it?
Yeah, tricks your trigger that
if you like, feel that you've done it all, like what keeps you there?
Well, I didn't say I've done it all. What I've said is I've accomplished, you know, the goals that I've set of, you know, wanting to be an entertainer and professional wrestler. What keeps driving me is, you know, the friends that I have, the you know, the love I have for this business, for the fans, for the promoters, for just wrestling in general. I mean, that'll always be
the rest of your life. I just want to tell you that, being an old man like I am, it'll be the rest of your life with the boys that you have made and the friends that you made. They will be the friends for the rest of your life. Like the memories that I get very emotional, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like that, but it was a big part of my life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, now going into it, and I'm telling you, it was one of the greatest things I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah. And I always say it's the greatest decision I ever made, was to become a professional wrestler. And I will always figure out a way to get back to the industry too. So when I ultimately retire from in-ring performance, I'm sure I'll be connected to it in some way through agenting or, you know, starting a school or starting a company or just, you know, being available to help people. But there's a lot of stuff, you know, anything that allows me to perform for more people or get the word out about wrestling, I'm all for. So whether that's traveling internationally, working for AEW, working for WWE, you know, going to the West Coast, going to Japan. I mean, I'm at the point now where if an opportunity presents itself in my life, wrestling related or otherwise, I'm just going to take it.
Right.
You know, I worked too hard and done too much to not just enjoy. You know, I had an epiphany a couple years ago. I was probably 2 years into running my own firm, and MV Young had asked me if I wanted to do a no-ring match up in Brooklyn during Fashion Week. And, like, without hesitation, I just said yes. So I bought a ticket, flew up to New York. Like, how cool is that? Like, I got to wrestle in Brooklyn during Fashion Week on the rooftop of a bar in New York.
That's awesome.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. So, you know, and actually, funny story, if for the comic book nerds out there, if you know who Craig Yohe is from Yohe Press, this was when I was really getting into comic book collecting. And I was going around to the comic book stores in New York the day after the show, and I was looking for Swamp Thing comics. And I kept seeing this comic called Swamp Monsters, which was next to the Swamp Things, but I kept passing it up. And I got to the airport super early before I flew back to Pittsburgh, and I was on my iPad and I was drawing on Procreate because I was trying to teach myself how to create merchandise. And this guy sits next to me and asked me if I was going to the convention. And so there was a comic book convention in North Carolina that he was flying to. And I said, no, you know, I'm a professional wrestler, but I'm just getting into comics. And it turned out it was Craig Yohe, and he had a copy of Swamp Monsters that he autographed and gave to me.
Nice.
It was his company that put it out.
That's awesome.
That's That is amazing. Speaking of merchandise, I just have to do a cheap plug for you. You could get this. This is an awesome.
Well, that's actually not out. That's not in print anymore.
But so see, I have it. You're not
collector's item.
Collectors. You have some really cool merch.
Thank you.
Which kind of the way your gimmick is, and it just doesn't seem right that you have that cool of merch and that cool of tights and that cool of stuff. Like he has, like an Air Lawless shirt. You have Power Rangers stuff. Like your tights are Power Rangers. Yeah. Like, well, it's like, how could you not love you? Like, I'm not gonna, if I'm gonna go in there, I'm just saying, I'm maybe a little critique here. Don't beat me up. We're, but you have too cool of tights and for that kind of gimmick, because you want people to hate you, but they're not going to hate you with that stuff. So, great merch. So,
where did you come up? I know the Gavel and I know the Lawless. Yeah. Where did you get the David in your gimmick?
So I had a friend growing up in middle school and high school who had the initials DAG. And when we were in school, everyone had those LL Bean backpacks that had their initials on them. And I don't know why. I just remember the DAG initials always standing out to me. So when I was thinking about names for my wrestling character, I thought, what if I did the DAG? And so Gary and I's mutual friend, Rishi, of the, Space Pimps and now Eternal Boy, he was the one that told me, you have to have the Gavel in your name or something, or Gavel. So I thought, well, what if I was David A. Gavel? Because then I would have the DAG. And I was doing a promo with Laura Lovelace in training school, and we were cutting a promo as a tag team, and we were, Laura Lovelace and then David Lawless, and that just kind of stuck. So the David came from just a friend that I had growing up.
Okay, I was just wondering. I asked some off the beat and crazy questions on our lovely podcast.
You can ask me anything. I'm an open book here.
I appreciate it, but I just wanted to know.
Your point, you're right. Like, I like designing cool stuff, and little known fact for the listeners out there, but Lee Moriarty does all my graphic design.
Nice. So. Well, he does a good job as well, because some of the merch you have is awesome. So
when we go off the air and we're not recording, I'll show you my new gear and my new T-shirt that will be released at some point. So,
okay, nice. See,
I
don't want to show it to the general public because it'll ruin the surprise. But it definitely stems back to a lot of the conversation that we had today. So the other thing is, like, I have Joker gear too. I don't know if
I didn't see that.
Awesome.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so I have my homage gear, as we'll call it. I have my Green Power Ranger gear. Yep. I have Bret Hart gear, which is pink and black and white, which is really cool. I have my Joker gear, which is purple and green and silver.
See, I didn't see that one. Huh. Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's amazing. So, again, real quick, biggest wrestling influence.
Oh man. Wow. There's so many that I've studied off of, and I guess probably one of my, Mr. Perfect is up there.
Okay. See, he was one of mine too. Like I just loved him. Great worker, very underrated. Amazing.
$1 Million Man.
That I could see that.
Shawn Michaels was always, Bret Hart. Yeah. I mean, Bret Hart to me is like one of the greatest professional wrestlers ever. And so if I had to rank them, I'd say probably Bret Hart number one.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. He was able to tell a story. He was like the perfect mix of everything in my eyes. He could wrestle, he could cut promos, he could tell a great story. He was an ultimate psychologist. Like, he was phenomenal. But I get a chance to meet him at a big time wrestling show one time, and him and I talked hockey. We didn't even talk wrestling. And there's so many things that I would want to ask him about wrestling, but we just didn't, and that was awesome. And even if it was a 5-minute long conversation, but meant everything to me, right? Because some of his work is just, all of his work is just amazing. So.
It's insane the people you get to meet in wrestling. I mean, I literally remember staying up late on a Saturday to watch ECW, seeing Shane Douglas, and now like I've wrestled him half a dozen times.
Now you're feuding with him.
Only in America. With him. It's insane. You know, I got to be on a show with Fandango this weekend. I got to, Scott Steiner, Lodi, Rey Mysterio, Mark Henry, Jack Swagger, Enzo, Cass.
Do you know all these wrestlers you're naming? Because I seen some stuff because of Hall's passing, and he wished that he had like somebody said something about a picture, snapping a picture, and Scott Hall said he wished he had a camera back in the day to take pictures of all the guys that he met along the way, just to remember, you know what I mean? And I know some people say, oh, don't do that, but realistically, sometimes those memories are. I do a little bit of crazy stuff too, but I mean, just to do that, I mean, have you done like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, can I get a quick pic or something? Do you do that? If
I've started it more, there's a couple, I mean, there was one person in particular that I was really turned off by his response to it. And,
okay.
You're happy with that though.
I'll tell you when we get off the air that he was a pretty big dick, and, I just don't like him because of it. But, everyone else, I mean, like this, especially like Tony Atlas got a picture of, that was really cool. And I will say that Tony Atlas went out of his way to come up and tell me that I was one of the most talented performers he'd seen in a while.
That's awesome.
Wow. Because I don't have the greatest body in the world. I'm not the most athletic, but I think that the package I put together has a lot to offer any wrestling.
You're entertaining.
Yep.
Well, that's what it takes. Yeah, absolutely. No, seriously.
So that's
you work with what you're given, Max. That's just the way it is, and you do a phenomenal job of that. Probably, and I'm not just saying that because I consider you a friend, and you're sitting here in front of me, in front of a screen. But like, you know how to work within your parameters, and you maximize that, and it's great. No, you do a great job.
I think that's where some people get into trouble, and I mean, I think it's like anything, right? If you own a business or you get in any venture, if you go outside of your, again, parameters is a good one, Gary. It's not comfort zone. It's parameters, what you're capable of.
Yep.
It's all about, staying safe, being in it for the long haul, but understanding the craft and understanding how to entertain. And look, if you run a business and you spend more money than you make, you're not going to have a business that works.
Yeah,
it's the same thing in wrestling. If you try to do more than your body physically is capable of, you're not going to be able to do it, or it's going to look bad, or you're going to get hurt. So,
or hurt somebody else. Yeah.
Correct. Yep. And I mean, it's not about the moves at all. It really isn't. It's about the storytelling. And that's why when I encounter a movie that tells me a good story with dynamic characters and leaves me wanting a little more, that's why I'll say it's the best Batman movie I've ever seen,
No, I get
full circle.
I get it. It does come full circle. Yep. I'm going to ask one last wrestling question, and then just a question overall. Match you're most proud of?
Oh, man.
Have one?
Definitely the 5-on-5 elimination match that we did at IWC.
Yeah, which they're returning to the Wild Things Park, I saw this summer.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
That's probably one of the best moments of my wrestling career.
That's awesome.
Was to just, to build a story like that, especially in those difficult times.
How was that? It was COVID time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that? If you don't mind me asking.
It was fine.
Okay.
It was fine. I
mean,
it was
outdoors. I think there was
just
there.
I'm not talking about that match in particular, but working in the spectrum of the COVID time, which is something that,
Well, again, it goes back to that brotherhood. You got to trust. You know what I mean? Trust.
That's that's what it comes down to. A lot of people will ask, did you feel comfortable working with other people during the pandemic? And the truth is that we put our lives in each other's hands every time we step in the ring. So just as I have to trust that you're going to pick me up safely and body slam me safely and not break my neck, I got to trust that if you're not feeling well or if you're sick, you're going to not wrestle.
Right. So, okay. I just wanted to ask.
I seen Max at a show this past summer or this past fall. Half the security ended up getting COVID and not showing up, and Max is the first one out there in the front lines of these kids crowd surfing. It was a big festival, and he's there with his mask, and he no questions asked, man. He was pulling those kids down safely, putting them, sending them back out.
The thing I will say, I sprained both of my ankles that day.
So you do security too at like rock concerts?
Well,
too?
this was a favor. I can't say he was utilized elsewhere. Max is a big part of this festival in general. And it just what needed to be done. He was probably the biggest one of us that was back there helping and probably the most suitable. But
in-house counsel / head of security for
yes. And I said, Mac, can't you just call some of the boys and get them in here? And you're like, oh man, they work on the weekends. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. Shit. But dude, you were up there slinging kids that you could.
I sprained both my ankles. My left shoulder felt like it got ripped out of the socket because here's the thing. I can pick up 250, 275 pound grown men and body slam them. But when a 160 pound young lady who has no control over her body comes barreling through on a crowd surf. It's just brutal. There was a girl that got launched from like the third row. And I mean, I legitimately like saved her from breaking her neck. Like she slid over the person's back and I caught her like a tombstone. And it was nuts. And I didn't even stick around for the last band because I was just so beat up.
It's like Roadhouse. You're like Roadhouse.
We were all concerned about you too. Like, and all we kept hearing was Max is gonna get COVID. He's gonna have COVID. I know he is. He's all these kids.
Well, and it turns out too. During that time, I was an extra for A League of Their Own, the television series.
Right.
And I was getting tested 3 times a week. So I didn't get COVID. And actually, I'm going to be an extra in the Tom Hanks movie coming up too. So I just got tested yesterday and fitted for wardrobe. And I don't have COVID also. So
see, nice. You're man of many talents.
Wow. Wow. Wrestler, lawyer, wrestler,
security,
actor.
I'm just
figure customizer.
You should, Max. You know what?
Take advantage of it.
If you ever get to a point where, you settle down or whatever you want to do with your life, you know what I mean? You can look back and say, I did all this and I'm at the point where that I'm fine, not being able to go out and do this all the time or that all the time. But no, you live a cool life. At least looks like it to me. So, but Max, go ahead.
I in my professional life, I get to help people too. So I'm doing a lot of cool stuff with litigation
and I was just going to say this, you are kind of like a real life superhero, Max. So in a lot of ways, think about it. I mean, it's
Daredevil.
Really cool.
You're the man.
You're the man. Murdoch.
You're the man to beat Jim Cornette.
That's right.
I did. That is the biggest villain of all, right?
Yeah, and I heard your stuff last week. Look, I know he's way left, but I like his old school wrestling stuff. Now I know he's an asshole.
No, he does have a mind for I get it.
His political views or whatever, but that's why I listen to him. But he is sometimes off. He sometimes I turn the channel off because sometimes and what he did to G Raver was just atrocious.
Yeah.
I will say, I think Jim Cornette is one of the smartest people in the wrestling business.
I agree.
And you beat him.
No. And, I think that he believes in the things that he talks about as far as the wrestling industry is concerned, but he's also got a keen business sense. And I think when he saw the direction the industry was headed, he realized that he would be more successful in sticking to his views and serving a very diehard part of the wrestling community than he would be of just kind of going with the flow and kind of taking an approach like, oh yeah, this is what it is today. And
I always say, Max, you got to adapt or perish, right? And I don't think he liked the way the direction, the business was heading, and that's okay. But you got to know when to fold them and, do your thing, but.
I will tell you, Gary, that after cross-examining him in federal court and getting the opportunity to really dig into his business, both from a fundamental level and an economic level, that man has not missed in his career decision. Let's just say that. Incredibly successful.
All right. Well, good. Yeah. I mean,
he has to be, because I paid him $1,500 out of a Betty Boop lunchbox down in Tennessee. So yeah, he was, I had to count it all out. What a character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant man though.
Last question, Max. And trust me, I want you to be able to use this podcast in any way possible for a resource. If you want to come on and promote something, please feel free.
Oh yeah.
As more DC stuff comes out, we'd love to have you back and talk about that as, from a perspective of a huge DC fan.
Sure.
You are now friend. Awesome. You are now friend of the Triple B Experience podcast show.
That's right.
Long time listener, first time caller. Thanks for that.
But last question, and this isn't a question that pertains to anything really we talked about tonight per se, but I always ask it. It's my final question is, what do you want to be known for, Max? Of all the cool shit that you do, and we've named a lot of it, we made that obvious tonight, and tried to highlight and put you over as much as possible because you do live a really cool life. What do you want to be known for?
I just want to be known as someone that was there for people and helped make the world better.
I think you've accomplished that already, so you need to find another goal. But that's just a personal opinion and from the outside looking in. And I appreciate you, my friend. You're welcome back anytime, and we'd love to have you back. So
yes,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. It's great talking to you.
Yeah, I hope we can all meet up in person at some point too.
That would be great.
For the Batman too.
Hopefully before that,
Let me know when this recording's over. I'll give you some inside baseball and some stuff we talked about too.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, guys. See you later. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Later.